What's up, guys? I'm Taylor with TK Disc Golf, and welcome to the first filmed glow round on YouTube using infrared technology. Our infrared floodlights that we have constructed are able to illuminate the entire fairway without sacrificing our own night vision. Pitch black for us, but our night shot camera is able to pick up everything, seeing the frisbee fly through the air and all the trees with all of its glory. So hey, let's dive right in and see who comes out on top between Tyler and I. Hole 1 is not too bad. It's 260 foot, pretty straight with a moderate fade towards the end of the flight is what we were trying to shoot for. Initial gap isn't too bad, but then there is obviously some jail bar trees that you can see towards the end of the fairway, and the goal really was for just us to hit the initial gap and then hope it punches through those jail bar trees. I was able to get about 25 feet long, a little bit uphill, but easy work on that putt to secure my first birdie of the evening. And Tyler is actually just a few feet closer than I am, both through the Eclipse reactor and both landing in almost identical spots, but easy work to snag those first couple birdies. Hole 2, very simple, 200 foot. I went sidearm with the resistor, and you can see that we've got the lights set up. You can see those two big trees you want to punch through. Tyler's throwing, I believe this was a proxy on the nice Anheuser release, and that gave it a really good run, to be honest. I landed again inside circle 1, probably about that 20-25 foot mark again, and able to go for two for two right off the beginning, which is pretty cool. And Tyler, easy cake work inside the 15 foot mark. Another easy birdie for him as well. But moving on to hole 3, this hole is pretty simple, 325 foot. Straight away, no trees really in the fairway except for some little twig guys right by the basket. I threw the hex, tried to flex it to get a nice S shot out of it, but I just did not power it up enough and it fades out. Got me about pin high, which will be nice, but it's definitely a 60-foot death putt downhill. Tyler's reaching for an envy and trying to put it on a nice panning shot to fade out late. And honestly, he put it on a little bit too much juice, and it is going down the hill right of the basket. It should make it pin high and make it a relatively easy up the hill approach shot, but definitely a very long putt for him to try to snag that birdie. I want nothing to do with this birdie putt. I'm just trying to lay it up under the basket. Like I said, that was easy, like a 65 foot approach shot, and I mean putt technically, but with the huge slope behind the basket, I was not messing with that at all. And Tyler landed a little bit in the bushes, but not too bad. Easy cake work to get us both basically laying underneath the basket. It stinks that we were both snagging par on basically the easiest hole on the entire round because there's no trees on this fairway other than the two right by the basket. But moving on to hole 4, arguably one of the hardest holes on this glow round simply because there's so many trees to hit. The initial gap is relatively wide, but it narrows quickly and there's lots of jail bars. And I found one of those about halfway down the fairway on this 300-foot hole. Tyler going for that turnover shot as well. We both went with the hex, and he also snags a tree. And we both pretty much land in the exact same spot, 150 feet to the pin roughly, relatively point and shoot. Easy to see the trees actually this part of the fairway because we played this round during the full moon in September, so lots of shadows on the ground, but able to see a lot of these trees and some of the more clear spots where the leaves weren't blocking the moonlight. Tyler basically landed like 10 feet farther than I did, but a little bit more to the left. But same shot, both through an envy up shot, getting us inside the circle. Tyler will be putting first, and easy par for him. And I was a little bit farther past the basket, but like I said, inside that 20-foot mark, so no issues there to keep ourselves both 2 under through 4 holes. Hole 5, this is a cool one. 265 feet, lots of jarrah trees that you can see. You got a little gap on the left, little gap on the right. Really, that one that's on the right's the one you want to punch through. I tried to throw the forehand through it and clip the tree. Tyler throws another forehand and makes it through the left one, but clipped something and leaves himself relatively short. But par is pretty easy on this hole in the daylight as long as you can at least punch into that gap for the most part. Tyler throws a nice run at the basket, runs past it. It was chain high though, so I applaud the effort, but he's going to have a little bit of a tester coming back. I was just on the edge of the woods, but able to get a lunge out and just toss one up under the basket to guarantee my par. And Tyler's got probably 25 feet to try to save his par, but hits dead center pole. We were using one of those light lanterns and just sitting it in the base of the basket so we could see the basket while we were putting. but that was the only like true white light we were using. Everything else is the infrared lights that only the camera can see. Hole 6 is one of my favorite holes because the basket's completely obstructed by those large trees you can see in the distance. So you really want to like throw straight at those trees and get a little lucky, or you can throw the skip shot. But I tried to throw straight at it and clipped the tree because I couldn't see it. Tyler as well hits the first available tree and the only tree in the smack dab in the middle of the fairway, and then proceeds to trip over the disc golf bag that I had accidentally left right next to the tee pad. So he tripped and hit the first available, but par will be easy to recover for him. He's right around that cluster of trees and has an easy tap in par from there. I've got some options. I can either lay up to the right and take my easy par, or I can try to run it through that little skinny gap, and I took the ill-advised route, but was able to punch it through and have myself literally a drop in for par. Tyler makes his as well. This is a kind of a hard hole to birdie, honestly, unless you're going to the layup shot to the right of the basket in the daylight, but I was trying to do that, but honestly just couldn't see where I was aiming exactly with how dark this part of the course is. Hole 7 is another gettable birdie, but the gaps are very, very narrow and hard to see because this part of the fairway is pretty dark actually. There's a gap on the left, gap on the right. I elected for the gap on the right, but honestly hit the ground a little early, and it didn't skip at all, so I'm going to be well short. Tyler punches one through the left gap, which is realistically the better one to go for if you're trying to get the birdie, and he's going to be way up there for a look. I'm inside circle 2, but quite long, and I don't putt with NBs, man. I love my electron ions, and those things are beat to perfection for me, so I'm normally able to give those longer putts a little better run, but that one didn't really glide and just died out right before the basket. Tyler inside that 25-foot mark, and again, hitting dead center pole in the pitch black for another birdie to put him one stroke ahead of me going into the final 2 holes, which the hole 8 I would call it a bonus birdie in the pitch black because it's pretty long and lots of trees to hit. There's that big gap that looks pretty massive on the screen, but it's really tight once you get around the corner. Lots of little twigs to hit. My shot was really freaking good, throwing second, but I threw it too low, so it is going to cut roll a little bit. If I would have thrown that about 10 feet farther, I would have been past the basket, I think, throwing a crave. Tyler threw the insanity, but didn't turn it over enough. He does have a nice approach shot, though, clips the last tree before the basket, and is going to be inside 25 feet, so with how he's been putting, I don't think he'll have any issues with his par. I tried to throw the hyzer putter around the tree to get to the basket, and gave it the best run I could in the pitch black, but that's going to be another par for me. Like I said, Tyler, 25 feet or so to try to snag his par, and he hits it no problems. He's been putting pretty well this entire evening, so he's got that on me. But moving on to hole 9, I've got to make a move here. Tyler's throwing a reactor off the tee. He makes it over the valley pretty easily, and this hole requires quite a bit of a fade. Not too strong. You want it to fly straight relatively 70% of the flight and then have a nice forward penetrating fade the final 30%. And we both hit that pretty well. His reactor made it all the way there, and my lift that I threw made myself inside 20 feet. So got to make this putt to give myself a chance. I do make it, currently all tied up, but Tyler's got a very similar putt to me to gain another birdie to keep himself one stroke ahead with how he's been putting all night. I honestly wasn't expecting to maintain my lead here, really knowing that he's got no chance of missing this because it's, again, straight on the pole, no problems there, but very fun round for us for our first glow round. Alrighty guys, that concludes our first glow round ever. We seriously learned so much doing this video. Between Tyler and I, it took us 2.5 hours in order to set these lights up on every single throw. If you think about that, every single time we had to throw a new shot, we had to angle all the lights appropriately to light up all the trees for you guys. So this process seriously takes a long time. So 9 holes is basically all we can really do. I think in the future I do want to build one more floodlight system because there's just a couple instances where I felt like we needed just a smidge more light farther down the fairway. But other than that, this was an awesome first start for us. If you want to see any more of this content like this in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button and drop a comment letting us know what you think, and we'll see you on the next one.